You know how to sell real estate. You've got clients, you've got experience, you understand the fundamentals, why you're not growing the way you thought you would. And this one is particularly frustrating because it's not obvious at first. You can't get past that number without working 70 or 80-hour weeks. And even then, it's not sustainable. You're already out of hours. You're already sacrificing time with your family. You look around and you see other agents doing 30 or 50 deals a year and you think, what am I doing wrong? You have access to all of them. You can go into what we call the pond system, pull up leads based on recent activity, and start reaching out. You get more opportunity because you have immediate lead access. When you know leads are coming in consistently, when you know you have a database of 30,000 people you can reach out to. And it's not just about money, it's about time. Let's have a conversation. Hey there, if you're watching this, chances are you've probably connected with us somehow. Maybe you just got licensed and received a text from us. Maybe one of our agents told you about what we're building here. Or maybe we've already sat down and talked through your business, possibly even done a full business audit together. Either way, you're here because there's something worth exploring. And I want to congratulate you for taking these uncomfortable but sometimes very necessary steps to making some positive changes for your business and your life. You don't have to be experienced to get value from this presentation, but if you have been in the business for a little while, here's what we already know about you. You're doing okay. You're not failing. You're closing some deals, maybe 4, 5, 8 a year, maybe more. You know how to sell real estate. You've got clients, you've got experience, you understand the fundamentals. You know how to run appointments, how to negotiate contracts, handle objections. So this isn't a conversation about whether you can do this job. You clearly can. You've proven that already. This is a conversation about something else entirely. This is about why you're not growing the way you thought you would when you first got into this business. Why you're working this hard, not seeing the results you're actually capable of. And honestly, why it feels harder than it should. You've probably had this thought before, maybe late at night when you're looking at your numbers, maybe at the end of a very frustrating day or week. The thought that says, I'm doing everything right, so why does it feel like such a grind? Well, I'm not here to convince you of anything today. I'm really not. I'm here to show you what's keeping you stuck and what actually changes when you stop operating alone and start operating within an infrastructure. And I know that word gets thrown around a lot. Infrastructure. Support, leverage, these are buzzwords at this point. So I'm going to be really specific about what those things actually mean in practice and not just in theory. By the end of this presentation, you'll know if that's something you're going to want to explore or if you're generally fine where you are. Either answer is completely legitimate. Some agents watch this and realize they need to make a change. Other agents watch this and realize they're actually happy with their current setup. Both of those outcomes are good outcomes. What matters is that you have clarity about what you're choosing and why. So let's talk about what I call the solo agent trap. And I want to be clear about something up front. This isn't about you being lazy or uncommitted or bad at your job. You're none of those things. If you were lazy, you wouldn't be watching this in the first place. If you were bad at your job, you wouldn't be closing deals. What you're dealing with is something completely different. What you're dealing with is architecture. You're operating inside a structure that wasn't built for growth and scale. It was built for independence, which sounds great until you realize that independence means you're doing absolutely everything yourself without any structural support. And look, independence is valuable. Autonomy is valuable. I'm not dismissing any of that. But independence without infrastructure creates problems that most agents don't anticipate when they're starting out. There are 3 symptoms that show up over and over again with experienced agents who are stuck. And I've seen this hundreds of times at this point. I've been in this business for nearly 20 years. I've worked with agents at every level, and these symptoms are universal. They show up whether you're doing 4 deals a year or 14. Whether you've been in the business 2 years or 10. The first symptom is what I call time poverty. And here's what it actually looks like in practice. You're spending about 60% of your week on things that don't generate income. Transaction paperwork, database management, marketing tasks, coordination, problem solving. All of this is necessary, but none of it is directly making you money. You get to the end of the week and you're exhausted, but when you actually sit down and calculate how many hours you spend on income-producing activities, the number is generally shockingly low. Let me give you a specific example. Monday morning, you get to the office. You check your email. You respond to a few questions from clients. You handle a problem from last week's closing. By 10 in the morning, you haven't done a single income-generating activity yet. Wednesday, you have plans to prospect, but then a transaction issue pops up, and that takes 3 hours to resolve. Your prospecting time is gone. Friday, you're catching up on database updates and transaction paperwork and planning for next week. End of the week, you've worked 40, 50, sometimes 60 hours. How many of those hours were actually spent on activities that generate future income? Maybe 15, maybe 20 if it was a really good week. The other 30 hours were spent on necessary tasks that don't directly produce revenue. The second symptom is the growth ceiling. And this one is particularly frustrating because it's not obvious at first. You can hustle your way to 10 deals a year. You can probably push to 15 if you're really grinding. But you will hit a wall. You can't get past that number without working 70 or 80-hour weeks. And even then, it's not sustainable. You're maxed out. The only way to do more deals is to work more hours, and you're already out of hours. You're already sacrificing time with your family. You're already working evenings and weekends. There's nowhere else to pull time from. And here's what makes this so difficult. You look around and you see other agents doing 30 or 50 deals a year, and you think, what am I doing wrong? But you're not doing anything wrong. You're just operating without leverage. Those agents doing 30, 40 deals, they have support systems. They have coordinators. They have assistants. They have infrastructure. You're trying to compete with them while doing everything yourself, and the math just doesn't work. The third symptom is isolation. And this one is more emotional than tactical, but it's just as real. Every problem you encounter, you're figuring it out alone. Every transaction that gets complicated, you're Googling solutions at 9 o'clock at night. Every slow month, you're sitting there by yourself, wondering what you're doing wrong and whether you're cut out for this. There's no one checking in. There's no one saying, here's what you should focus on. There's no one to bounce ideas off when you're stuck on negotiation or trying to figure out how to handle a difficult client. You're making hundreds and hundreds of micro decisions every single day. What should I focus on first? How should I handle this objection? Is this marketing campaign worth continuing? Should I reach out to this lead again or let it go? Every single decision drains your mental energy. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted. Not because you've done hard work, but because you've been making decisions all day without any support or direction. And here's what's important to understand about all three of these symptoms. This isn't a failure on your part. This isn't evidence that you're not going to get good enough, or that you lack discipline, or that you need to work harder. This is what happens when you operate without leverage. This is the natural result of trying to scale a solo operation. And solo operations don't scale. They just get busier, they get more chaotic, and the ceiling stays exactly where it is. Alright, so most agents recognize something's not working and they try to fix it. And the fixes make logical sense. They really do. They're not stupid ideas, they're just tactical solutions to a structural problem. And that's why they don't work. The first thing agents do generally is they spend money on leads. The logic is simple and it makes perfect sense on the surface. If income is consistent, you need more opportunity. If you're having slow months, you need more people in your pipeline. So you start paying for Zillow leads or Facebook leads or Google leads or whatever platform promises you a steady flow of inbound leads. Here's what happens. Week 1, you turn the lead spigot on and you're excited. The leads start trickling in. You're calling people back, you're engaged, you're thinking, man, this is exactly what I needed. Week 2, you get busy with showings and appointments. The leads are still coming in, but you're starting to fall behind on follow-up. Your backlog is building. You've got leads who asked you to call back next week, and you couldn't get to them, or you forgot. By week 4, you've got 50, 60, 80 leads in your CRM. Maybe you've connected with a handful of them. Maybe you've set a couple of appointments. Your conversation rate is sitting around 1-2%, and you're completely overwhelmed. You're paying hundreds of dollars a month now for these leads, and most of them are just sitting in your database unconverted. You know you should be following up more consistently, but when? You're already working 60-hour weeks. Here's what happened. Volume didn't change behavior. You got more leads, but your process stayed exactly the same. You're still the only person making calls. You're still the only person managing follow-up. You're still the only person keeping track of where each lead is in the pipeline. The issue was never lead volume. The issue was that you didn't have a systematic follow-up process, and you didn't have support to help you manage the flow. More leads without better process just means more wasted opportunity and more wasted money. It just means more guilt about all the people you're not following up with. The second fix agents try is hiring an assistant. And again, the logic here makes sense. You figure if you could just offload some of this admin work, you'd have more time to sell. So you hire someone, maybe part-time. You're paying them $15, $20 an hour. And you're thinking, this is going to free up 10 to 15 hours a week for me. I can use that time to prospect. I can use that time to run more appointments. Here's what actually is happening now. You're managing them. You're training them on how you want things done. You're explaining your systems, except you don't really have systems. You just have the way you do things. You're checking their work. You're answering their questions. They're texting you at weird times, asking where to find something or how to handle a situation. You're spending now 5 or 10 hours a week managing this person who's supposed to be saving you time. Here's the other problem. Most assistants in this situation don't stick around long enough to become truly valuable because you don't have real infrastructure for them to plug into. They're trying to reverse engineer your brain. They're trying to figure out how you like things done. And it's frustrating for them and frustrating for you. So after a few months, they quit or you let them go. And now you're back where you started from. Except now you're also gun-shy about hiring anyone else in the future. In this scenario, you haven't solved the infrastructure problem. You just added another layer of complexity. What you needed was systems that an assistant could actually follow. What you got was another person who needs you to tell them what to do. The third fix is getting better at time management. You read The One Thing or Atomic Habits or Deep Work. You watch YouTube videos about time blocking. You try the Pomodoro technique. You start color coding your calendar. And look, some of this stuff really helps. I have Atomic Habits sitting right behind me. I'm not saying time management is worthless, but here's what it doesn't do. It doesn't create leverage. You get a little more efficient, fine. Maybe you waste a little time scrolling on social media. Maybe you batch your tasks a little bit better. Maybe you're a little bit more intentional about your mornings, but you're still doing everything yourself. You're just doing it faster. The ceiling is still there. You've just optimized your path to hitting it. You're still the only person prospecting. You're still the only person managing transactions. You're still the only person handling client problems. Time management helps you squeeze a little more productivity out of your day, but it doesn't fundamentally change your capacity. The fourth fix is joining a mega team. And I understand the appeal of this. You look at the big teams in your market. They're doing hundreds of transactions a year. They've got systems, they've got infrastructure, they've got lead flow. You figure if you can't beat them, join them. So you have a conversation with one of the big team leaders. They show you their numbers. They show you their lead sources. They tell you about their training programs, and it all sounds impressive. So you make the move, and what happens? Your name disappears. You become a number. You're getting leads, sure, but you're also getting told exactly when to work, exactly what to say, exactly how to operate. You've got a schedule that's set for you. You've got floor time. You've got team calls you're required to attend. You've got a script you have to follow word for word. You've now traded independence for volume, and you've lost your identity in the process. Your clients don't know your name. They know the team leader's name. When they refer someone, they don't say, call my agent. They say, call the Smith team. You're building someone else's brand in this scenario. You're building someone else's business. And the splits reflect that. You're keeping 40%, and the team leader's keeping the rest. You're working harder than you've ever worked before, and someone else is building equity off of your effort. Here's what all these fixes have in common. They're tactical solutions to a structural problem. You don't need more leads. You don't need an assistant. You don't need better time management. You don't need to become a cog in a mega team. You need different architecture. You need infrastructure that supports leverage without erasing who you are. You need systems you can plug into without losing your autonomy. That's what actually solves the problem. All right, so let's talk about what actually changes when you operate with infrastructure instead of operating alone. And I want to be really specific here because infrastructure is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot without anyone defining what it actually means. Everyone talks about systems and leverage and support, but what does that look like on a Tuesday afternoon when you're trying to close a deal? Well, first, let's talk about what you stop doing, because this matters just as much as what you start getting. You stop building CRM workflows from scratch. You're not spending 3 weekends trying to figure out how to set up automation sequences. You stop creating your own nurture campaigns and hoping they work. You're not writing emails at 11 p.m. and wondering if they're any good. You stop managing every single transaction detail yourself. You're not the person tracking inspection deadlines and coordinating with the title company, making sure appraisals get ordered. You stop operating in isolation when problems come up. You're not alone at your desk trying to figure out how to salvage a deal that's falling apart. Those things don't disappear. They still need to happen. They just stop being your job. And that shift is massive. When you're not spending 20 hours a week on back-end work, you have 20 hours a week to spend on things that actually generate income. Now let's talk about what you start getting. Lead access is the first thing, and I want to be very specific about what this means, because it's not just we'll give you leads. A lot of teams say that. What we actually have is a database of 25 to 30,000 leads that you can start working on or working with today. Not leads you have to generate, not leads you have to pay for out of your own pocket. Leads that are already there in our system. People that are browsing our website consistently, daily. Things that we track that you'll be able to see in real time. Some of these are people who visited maybe 6 months ago and never converted. Some of these are people who downloaded a home valuation report. Some of these are people who have signed up for listing alerts. They're all at different stages. Some are hot and they're going to buy in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Some are warm and some are cold, but they're all there and you have access to all of them. You can go into what we call the pond system, pull up leads based on recent activity and start reaching out. You're not starting from zero. You're not spending 6 months building a pipeline before you can start actually selling. We also have lead routing that's based on geography. When new leads come in from our paid advertising, they get routed directly to you based on where you work. So if you're working in a specific zip code or region and the lead comes in within that area, it gets automatically routed to you. So you're not fighting for new leads. And we're not playing the game of routing leads to specific agents. It's all based on geography. You're not waiting for someone to assign them to you either. The system routes them to you automatically. That's what infrastructure looks like. It's automatic. It's predictable. You know leads are coming. The second thing you get is a plug-and-play infrastructure on the technology side. We've built our entire digital ecosystem inside a CRM called Sierra Interactive. And before you think, great, another CRM I have to learn, understand what we've already built inside of it. We have pre-built all kinds of campaigns, action plans that you can attach to your existing sphere and your existing leads and all future leads today. Not next month after you finish setting everything up, but from day one. So what does that mean practically? Well, it means that when you get a new lead, you don't have to sit there and think, okay, what should my follow-up sequence look like? Should I email them tomorrow or wait 3 days? What should I say? How many touches should I do? We've already figured that out. We've tested it. We know what converts. You attach the lead to the appropriate campaign, and the system handles the automated follow-up. Yes, you're still making calls in between, but you've now leveraged a lot of this output that is really, really necessary by using our system. You just handle the personal touches when they respond. We have campaigns for new buyer leads. We have campaigns for seller leads. We have campaigns for long-term nurture when someone's not ready yet, but might be in 6 months or 12 months. We have campaigns for geographic farming. These aren't theoretical. These are campaigns that convert. You're not building this yourself. You're not trying to figure out what they look like. You're not spending months and months figuring out how to set up automations and wondering if you're doing it right. You're implementing already what works. And here's why that matters. When you're a solo agent, you know you should have these systems. You've been to the training. You've heard the webinars. Everyone talks about the importance of automated follow-ups and long-term nurture. But when do you actually build it? When do you find the time to sit down and create these campaigns? It's hard, and most oftentimes you don't. You're too busy selling. So you end up with good intentions, but no execution. Well, with us, the execution part is done. You just plug in. The third thing you get is collaborative intelligence, and this is harder to quantify, but just as valuable as some of the things we've talked about, including technology. Every week, we have a mastermind where agents are working through the same challenges you're facing. Market conditions, objections, difficult clients, complex transactions. You're not alone anymore. You're in a room, virtual or otherwise, with people who get it, who are dealing with the same stuff, who have solutions that you haven't thought of. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. Let's say you're working with a buyer who's pre-approved, but keeps getting cold feet every time you find a property they like. You've done several showings, and then they finally love a home. Then they sleep on it and decide they're not ready. You're frustrated. You're not sure if you should keep working with them or cut them loose. In a solo environment, you're generally figuring this out alone. Maybe you call a friend in the business. Maybe you Google it. Maybe you ask your broker, but let's be honest, most of your brokers are more focused on recruiting than they are about helping you. Maybe you just keep spinning your wheels. In a team environment, you bring it up and someone says, I had this exact situation last month. Here's what I did. Someone else says, that sounds like a commitment issue. Have you tried reframing the conversation this way? Someone else may say, I use this specific script for buyers who are hesitating, and it works really well. The point is, you walk away with several different approaches that you can try. You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel or guess. That's called collaborative intelligence. That's what happens when you're not operating in isolation. We also have a lead agent who's a mentor on our team who closes about 20 deals a year, and you have direct access to her. You can shadow her on appointments, you can partner with her on listings or buyer clients, you can role play, you can get deal-specific advice when you're stuck. So let's say you've got a listing presentation coming up and you're nervous because it's a higher price point than you usually work with. You can call the lead agent and say, walk me through how to handle this type of presentation. You can practice with her. You can get real-time feedback. Or let's say you're in the middle of a negotiation and it's getting contentious and you're not sure how to navigate it without blowing up the deal. You don't have to figure this out alone. You call, you explain the situation, you get advice from someone who's been there 100 times. That access is invaluable. It shortens your learning curve by years. We also have a director of operations who handles all the back-end minutia, so you're not bogged down in admin work, transaction coordination, making sure inspections get scheduled, following up with lenders, coordinating with title companies, handling all the small details that have to happen but don't require you personally. When deals get complicated, you've got support. You're not Googling how to handle a weird contract issue at 9 p.m. You've got someone whose job it is to handle that stuff. And here's the thing that I think matters most. Your identity stays intact. You're not becoming invisible. You're not being absorbed into someone else's brand. You're still building your business under your name. It's your name with Briten Team, not buried under someone else's brand. Your clients know who you are. Your sphere knows who you are. When people refer business to you, they're referring it to you by name, not to some faceless team. We're a cloud-based team, which means that there's no office requirement. You're not commuting to some office and sitting at a desk all day. You control your schedule. You have autonomy. You work when it makes sense for you to work. You take calls from your house or a coffee shop or wherever you are productive. You're building your business with our platform, with our infrastructure, supporting you, not consuming you. This is what we call the hybrid model, and it's different from what most teams offer. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's not rigid. You're not being forced into someone else's system and losing everything that makes you unique. You get infrastructure, you get support, but you also get autonomy. You can self-brand within our team structure, which means your ceiling gets raised instead of lowered. You're not a cog in a machine, you're an agent with leverage. There's a huge difference. Let me show you what this actually solves, because I don't want this to stay theoretical. You get more opportunity because you have immediate lead access, and you're getting trained on how to develop your own sphere in a systematic way. You're not just getting team leads and calling it a day. We're teaching you how to build your pipeline so you're not dependent on us for your business. You get less stressed because you have support and accountability. There's someone checking in. There's someone who cares whether you're hitting your goals. There's someone who notices when you're struggling and helps you course correct. You get better planning because your pipeline becomes predictable. When you know leads are coming in consistently, when you know you have a database of 30,000 people you can reach out to, when you know you have campaigns running in the background nurturing long-term prospects, you can actually plan, you can forecast, you can make decisions about your business based on real data instead of hope. You can also make decisions based on some of the things you want to do in life, like taking that vacation you've always talked about taking and not wondering if by leaving you're now losing out on money. And you get long-term scale without adding more labor to your day. That's the key. Most agents try to scale by working more hours. They go from 50 hours a week to 60 hours a week to 70 hours a week, and they burn out. With infrastructure, you scale by leveraging systems and support. You're working the same hours or even fewer hours as your business grows, and you're producing more because you're focused on the things only you can do. That's the difference. Infrastructure creates leverage. Hustle doesn't. Hustle just creates exhaustion. All right, so let's get specific about what your week actually looks like when you're operating with the infrastructure that we've talked about instead of operating alone. Because again, theory is one thing, day-to-day reality is another. I think this is where it really clicks for most agents, when you can see what Monday through Friday actually looks like. That's when you understand the difference or what's different. Mondays, we usually start with a team meeting. It's part tactical, part developmental. We're talking about wins. We're talking about what's happening in the market. We're reviewing what worked last week and what didn't. We're sharing, we're troubleshooting. And you walk away knowing about your priority, about what your priority is for that week. You're not waking up Monday morning and trying to figure out what you should focus on. You already know. You've got clarity. And here's what's different about this compared to when you're operating alone. When you're solo, Monday morning becomes very overwhelming. You generally have 100 things you could be doing, and you're trying to figure out which one matters most. Should you prospect? Should you follow up with old leads? Should you work on marketing? Should you handle that transaction issue from last week? You're paralyzed by options. With structure, that paralysis goes away. You know what you're supposed to be doing, and the decision is already made. Tuesday and Wednesday, you're doing client-facing work. That's your actual job. Prospecting, appointments, showings, negotiations, following up with leads, nurturing relationships, the things that actually generate income. Here's what's different. You're not consistently getting pulled away by administrative tasks. You're not stopping in the middle of prospecting to handle a transaction issue. You're not breaking your focus to coordinate with a lender or a title company. Those things are handled by someone else. If you need advice on something, we have people that are accessible. Let's say you're in the middle of a showing and the buyer asks you a question you're not sure how to answer. Well, you can put that question into our Slack platform and you can say, hey, I've got a buyer asking about this specific situation. What's the best way to handle it? And you'll get a response within minutes, if not seconds. You're not stuck. You're not guessing. You've got backup. If something's happening on the transaction side, the coordinator is handling it. Our coordinator is handling it. The inspection gets scheduled, the appraisals get ordered, the lender gets the documents they need. You're not doing any of that. You're focused on selling. And that focus makes a massive difference. When you can actually concentrate on prospecting for 3 straight hours without interruption, you become way more effective. When you're constantly getting pulled in different directions, you're not. On Thursdays, we have a mastermind slot. It's optional, but it's there if you want it. It's collaborative. It's problem solving. It's meant to problem solve. You're drawing from the collective intelligence of other agents who are dealing with the same market conditions, the same objections, the same challenges. And this isn't some rah-rah motivational call. It's practical and it's tactical. Someone says, I've got a listing that's been sitting for 30, 45 days. The seller's getting anxious. How do I have that conversation without them thinking I'm a bad agent? 3 people jump in with specific approaches that have worked for them. Someone else says, I'm working with an investor who wants to make lowball offers on everything. Should I keep working with them or let them go? You get real advice from people who've been there. That's what I mean by collaborative intelligence. You're not reinventing the wheel every time something comes up. You're learning from people who've already figured it out, and you're contributing also. When someone asks a question about something you've handled before, you share what worked for you. It's reciprocal, it's valuable, and it saves you hours of trial and error. Friday, you're tracking your week. How many calls did I make? How many connections? How many appointments? How many showings? The platform we use shows us what's working. There's accountability, but it's not micromanagement. Nobody's breathing down your neck. But there is someone who cares whether you're hitting your goals. There is someone who's going to notice if your activity drops off and will reach out to ask you what's going on and whether or not you need any help. Here's why that matters. When you're operating alone, you can have a slow week and no one notices. You can skip prospecting for 3 days and there's no consequence. You can tell yourself you'll make it up next week, and then next week will come and the same thing will happen. With accountability, that doesn't fly. Not in a punitive way, in a supportive way. Someone's checking in, someone's helping you stay on track. You're not left alone to wonder if you did enough this week. You know, the numbers are right there. You made 100 calls, you had 15 connections, you set up 5 appointments, you ran 3 showings. You know exactly what you accomplished, and if the numbers aren't where they should be, you have support to figure out why and fix it. And here's what you're not doing all week. You're not building infrastructure. You're not creating systems from scratch. Again, you're not Googling how to handle a complicated contract issue at 9 p.m. You're not spending 20 hours a week on admin tasks. You're not stuck in your inbox answering the same questions over and over. You're not coordinating inspections and appraisals and title work. That time is freed up, and you're going to use it to sell and make more money. Let me paint you the contrast. A solo agent week, 50 hours worked, 20 hours on income-producing activities, 30 hours on everything else, feeling exhausted and unsure what you've actually accomplished. That's the difference. It's not that you're working dramatically fewer hours, though some agents do. It's that the hours you are working are focused on the right things, and that focus compounds over time and makes you more money. All right, let's talk about the economics, because at some point we need to discuss splits and costs and what this actually looks like financially, and I want to be completely transparent here. I'm not going to hide anything. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. You deserve to know exactly what you're looking at. Our current split structure is very straightforward. For team-generated leads, the leads that come from our paid advertising and our database and our systems, it's a 50-50 split. For sphere leads, deals that come from your own relationships and network, people you bring to the table yourself, it's 70-30. You keep 70%, that's where we are right now. That's the current structure. I know what you might be thinking, 50-50 sounds low, I get it. You can go to other brokerages and get an 80-20 split. You can go to some brokerages and get a 90-10 split. So why would you take 50-50? That's a fair question, and it's the right question to ask. Here's my answer. Splits don't correlate with income. Our industry is one in which your business can organically snowball as you do business. The more people you touch, the quicker you will grow. And in order to touch a lot of people, you need to be able to spend the majority of your time on selling rather than on the behind-the-scenes things and the behind-the-scenes minutiae that we've talked about up to this point. It's not about how much you make per deal. It's about what you net at the end of every year. Most agents in our country are doing an average of 6 deals per year. Every year. They're stuck. They do this every single year throughout their careers. They make $50,000 pounding their chests that they have a high split from their brokerage. It's absurd. But we also have something that's coming that changes this equation. We're currently developing a system that allows agents to move up in splits for all lead types, including team leads. This is based on production and self-sufficiency. As you build your business and become more productive and need less hands-on support, we will give you a higher split. So you're not going to be stuck at 50-50 forever. The goal is for you to keep more as you produce more and as you demonstrate that you can operate with less direct hands-on oversight. Now, I'm being honest with you. We're still building out the exact mechanics of this tier system. I don't have all the details finalized yet. I am happy to have a conversation with you if you're interested in having one, but the path exists. The intention is real. We're not one of those teams that locks you into 50-50 and that's it forever. We want you to grow. We want you to become more productive. We want you to stay with our team, and we want your compensation to reflect that growth. Here's the philosophy behind it. When you first join, you're getting maximum support. You're learning our systems, you're getting trained, you're getting hands-on coaching, you're getting immediate access to leads, you're getting everything we have to offer. That 50-50 split reflects that high level of support. As you become more experienced with our systems, as you start generating more and more of your own business, as you need less direct intervention, you earn a higher split. That makes sense, right? You're contributing more, you should keep more. Here's what happens when you join a team like ours. Yes, your split drops on team leads, but you're not just doing more deals, you're converting at a higher rate because our systems and our process actually work. So you're converting at a higher percentage. We have better scripts, better follow-up, better qualifying. You're closing 24 deals instead of 12, and you're doing it with less labor, not more. But here's the difference. This grows with time. As you continue to learn, your conversion rate keeps climbing. You start working fewer hours, but closing more because you're not starting from scratch every single day. The leverage compounds. Year 2, you're making even more with even less effort. Year 3, it's not even close. This is what entrepreneurship is. It's about making more money with time without increasing labor to your day-to-day. In fact, decreasing your labor. And that's why a team like ours is perfect for agents who are looking to scale. Most agents grind harder to make the same money. With us, you work smarter and the money follows. And here's the thing, that's just in the beginning. What happens in year 2 when you're even more comfortable with the systems? What happens when you've built up your own sphere using our training or using our leads? What happens when you're leveraging newer agents on the team to handle showings? You're not capped at 24 deals. You could be doing 30, you could be doing 40. Your income scales, and as you scale, your split gets better through our tier system. Your income doesn't come from your split percentage, your income comes from your production. Lower split with higher production beats higher split with plateau every single time. The math is simple, can't make it any clearer than that. The agents who make the most money in our business aren't the ones with the highest splits, they're the ones with the highest production and the best systems and the ability to scale. So, who is this actually for? Well, let me be really honest about fit, because this isn't for everyone, and I'd rather tell you now than waste your time or mine. This is not for agents who want 100% autonomy with zero accountability. If the idea of a weekly check-in sounds annoying, if you don't want anyone looking at your numbers, if you want to operate completely independently with no one asking you about your activity levels, this isn't the right environment. We're collaborative, we're accountable. That's how we operate. This is not for agents who are chasing 90-10 splits and don't care about anything else. If split percentage is the only thing that matters to you, there are brokerages that will give you that. Go there. Seriously. We're not competing on split alone. We're competing on infrastructure and support and results. If you just want a high split and you'll figure out everything else yourself, that's fine. But that's not us. So who is this for? This is for agents who are stuck doing 4, 6, 10 deals a year and know they should be doing more. You have the skills, you have the work ethic, you just don't have the structure. This is for agents who are spending most of their time on tasks that don't generate income and want that to change. This is for agents who are tired of figuring everything out alone and want support and collaboration. And this is for agents who want to build an actual business instead of just hustling harder year after year in an environment that is fun and collaborative. This is for agents who are willing to trade some split percentage in exchange for infrastructure that allows them to scale. If that's you, if you're nodding along, and as I'm saying this, then this might be a fit. If not, that's okay also. Knowing it's not a fit is just as valuable as knowing it is. The real question here isn't what does it cost to join a team. The real question is, what is it costing you not to? And I don't mean that as a sales line. I mean it as an actual calculation you should do. Every month you stay where you are is a month you're operating without the leverage you need. That's lost production, lost income, lost time. And it compounds. Let's say the difference between solo operation and team operation is 12 additional deals per year for you. That's one extra deal per month at $8,000 average commission. Even at a 50-50 split, that's an additional $48,000 per year. Over 3 years, that's $144,000. That's real money. That's money you're leaving on the table by not having all of these things that we've discussed. And it's not just about money. It's about time. It's about stress. It's about the mental load of carrying everything yourself. What's the cost of another year spent overwhelmed? Another year spent working 60-hour weeks and still not hitting your goals? Another year spent alone trying to figure out problems that someone else could help you solve in 5 minutes? I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm trying to get you to think about both sides of the equation. Everyone focuses on the cost of making a change. No one focuses on the cost of staying the same. But staying the same has a cost too, and it's usually higher than people realize. So here's the next step. If this feels aligned with what you're looking for, let's have a conversation. Not a high-pressure sales call. I'm not going to corner you. I'm not going to try to close you on the call. Just a conversation. We'll talk about where you are. We'll talk about what you're building toward. We'll talk about what's important to you. You can ask whatever questions you have. You can tell me your concerns. By the end of that conversation, you'll know if this is the right fit. And if it's not, I'll tell you that also. The link to schedule a conversation is below this video. If you decide after talking with me that this is right for you, great. We'll move forward together. If you decide it's not, that's fine also. What matters most is that you make a good decision, whatever that decision is. I'd rather you make the right decision for you than the decision that benefits me. Last thing, and then I'll let you go. You don't need to decide today whether you're joining the Briten team, but you probably need to decide something else. Are you okay with the way things are right now? The income volatility, the time poverty, the stress, the ceiling, working this hard without seeing the results you're actually capable of, figuring everything out alone, making hundreds of decisions every day with no support. If you're genuinely okay with that, if you're thinking, yeah, I'm fine with where I am, then don't change anything. Stay where you are. Keep doing what you're doing. And I mean that. Some agents are legitimately happy operating solo. They like the independence. They like the autonomy. They're willing to trade growth for freedom. That's a valid choice. But if there's a voice in the back of your head that says, there's got to be a better way, I shouldn't be this stressed, I should be doing more deals, I should have more support, then maybe it's time to try something different. Not because I'm telling you to, because your gut is telling you to. Most agents don't decide immediately. They watch this, they sit with the information for a few days, they think about what they really want from their business and their life. They talk to their spouse or partner, they come back with better questions. That's completely normal. That's actually the smart way to make this kind of decision. Big decisions deserve time and thought. Here's what I know after 20 years in this business. The difference between agents who grow consistently and agents who plateau isn't talent. It's not work ethic. It's not the market. It's whether they're operating inside a structure that supports leverage. That's it. That's the variable. You can keep doing what you're doing. You can keep hustling, keep trying to do everything yourself, keep hoping things will change, or you can plug into infrastructure that creates monthly income clarity through support and systems and accountability. Whether it's with us or with someone else, infrastructure is what changes everything. The question isn't, should I join the Briten team? The question is, what kind of business do I want to build? Do you want to keep doing this alone, or do you want support? Do you want to keep improvising every day, or do you want proven systems to follow? Do you want to keep carrying all the risk yourself, or do you want that distributed across a team? Those are real questions, and only you can answer them. But whatever you decide, decide intentionally. Don't just stay where you are because it's easier and comfortable, and it's easier than making a change. Don't just drift. Choose. If you want to explore whether the structure fits your situation, the link to schedule a conversation is below. If not, I genuinely hope you found this helpful and that it gave you some clarity about where you're going and what you're building. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and good luck with whatever you decide.